Welcome everybody to this PayTrace webinar. My name is Sam Johnson, and I am thrilled to be joined by Mary Miller, our Director of Marketing. Welcome, Mary.
Thanks, Sam. Great to be here.
Today, we are going to be discussing our newest integration with QuickBooks Online. Now, some of you may have been on our webinar last month about our product release for our new AR product called Trace AR. We happen to drop in a fun fact at the very end of it that it also integrates with QuickBooks, and that caused a bit of a ripple effect with our partners and a lot of folks wanting to learn more about it. So rather than glazing over it, figured let's just do a webinar on QuickBooks Online. So we've got some really cool things to talk about here today. If you are new to PayTrace webinars, what you can expect from this, these typically last about half an hour. This is your opportunity to interact with us, ask questions. If you have any of those questions, comments, or emotional outbursts during this, we want you to engage with us. If you wiggle around on your Zoom panel, you'll see a Q&A area. You can go ahead and type those into us. We'll take about 5 or so minutes at the end of today's call and address as much as we can. So please keep those coming. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Mary to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that a lot of businesses and merchants see with regards to accounts receivable and some of the pain points of some traditional methods.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sam. And as Sam said, thanks everyone for joining us. One of the things that I want to highlight first is having been both an accounting manager, a user of software such as QuickBooks and other ERP systems and accounting systems, I can relate to a lot of these pain points, and I'm sure many of you can too. If you're dealing with, let's just say, your accounts receivable today manually, where somebody is going into the office and printing out invoices and putting them in envelopes and sticking a stamp on them and putting them in the mail, it's a very time-consuming, very painful process. And even if you're going in and emailing those invoices, that's really only step one. Good for you, but that's really only step one of what can be a very extensive process, which we'll get into a little bit more in a couple of minutes. But the result of that is that it takes a long time for organizations to collect the payments on those invoices. On average, the DSO, the days sales outstanding for those invoices, can be 28 days or more, with an industry average really being more like 30 to 45. So if that's something that your organization can relate to, or your clients' organizations can relate to, you came to the right place, because manual and paper-based processes for issuing invoices is outdated. There's a ton of risk for human error, and frankly, there's risks for fraud as well, because you're waiting for something to come in the mail, which introduced its own time challenges and risks in that. The next thing that we're seeing is that there's a very disconnected buying experience. We're all consumers first. Yes, we work for businesses that often sell to and work with other businesses, but at the end of the day, we all go home and start shopping and searching and buying on our phones and on our laptops and on our tablets. We individuals are consumers. We expect that same buying experience in a B2B world. In fact, the majority of B2B buyers now prefer to buy things digitally, prefer to pay either online or with some sort of digital or credit card type payment. They want that experience because it's what we're experiencing in our normal day-to-day lives. So they want a single payment source, and they want to be able to buy things in a very convenient, digital, embedded online manner.
And I'll attest to that too, Mary. If I could jump in there.
Yeah, please.
You know, I as a consumer, I have a lot of bills, right? We all have bills that we got to pay, and I will tell you personally, I get a lot of, they all come in the mail.
Yeah.
A lot of them come into email as well if I've opted into that. But when I have I don't know what the audience thinks, but when I have the option to pay online, I'm 100%. Usually getting that bill paid probably that same day or within a couple days. But if they're making me send in a paper check, which I have a few utility bills that require a paper check, that usually is going to sit in my bill bin. I actually have a bill bin in my kitchen.
I understand. Same.
For 2-3 weeks. So weeks. We do this all the time as consumers and buyers, is that the easy to pay ones, we're probably going to knock out right away, the ones that cause the least amount of friction. So on the supplier side, right, we want to give our buyers, we want to give our customers the easiest methods of payment.
100%. And, what we're seeing too in that buying experience is that organizations that give those options to their clients, to their customers, are seeing tremendous growth. They're seeing tremendous acceleration. They're seeing the value of that automation almost overnight. And we'll talk about some of that. I know it seems a little too good to be true, but it truly, like you say, if you receive a bill, you're going to send it right away, or at least schedule it right away digitally, and then you don't have to think about it. But if it's in paper or some other method, you're going to have to go back and find it later. Chances are it's going to take more time. Same thing is true for us in the business world. And so organizations are finding that if they give their clients those options, they're going to get their money faster. And so they're seeing tremendous advances with this type of technology. So we expect the same thing to be true in what we're going to share with you today. Let's break those down into a couple of numbers here. Yeah, let's get at the data. So another data point that we have in terms of automating B2B payments, and again, I've lived this world before. I can tell you all of the factors that go into this first number on the left-hand side of your screen, the $23 per invoice. When you either pay, we'll jump over to the AP side for 2 seconds, whether you're the one paying that invoice manually, or if you're the organization receiving that invoice manually, all of these steps still need to happen. And it costs on average $23 per invoice to pay invoices manually. That data includes everything from the time of the full-time employee that you're paying, the cost of the stamps and the paper and the mailing, all of that kind of physical and human elements that go into that. There's also, again, that risk for fraud that can't even be factored in there because it's a multi-billion-dollar problem in and of itself, but we'll leave that one aside. This is just if you're doing it manually. So nobody has a line item in their budget for that. Nobody's expecting to pay that much for an invoice when the invoice could range from $1 to thousands of dollars, right? The reality is the value is the same, the cost is the same, $23 per invoices. And when companies do start to automate that, 48% of B2B executives say that embedded payments option is now giving them a competitive edge. Why? Go back to that whole consumer experience, right? People want to pay in the methods that they're comfortable with, that they're familiar with, that's easy for them to do, removes that friction like Sam mentioned. And as a result, their clients are going to stick with them. That creates loyalty. That creates, I want to do business with this organization because they're modernizing my experience. The whole idea of B2B payment modernization is not new, but I think we're going to continue to see that evolve as new digital options become available. So next point then, of course, 75% of B2B products are already purchased online, or at least taken to the point of, I'm ready to place this order, and then complete that with maybe an email or a text or a phone call, depending on the complexity of the order. But we're already there. Three-quarters rather, of the payments that we're making for purchases that we're making for B2B are being done online in some capacity.
Yeah.
So we're moving in that direction already. And then to support that on the operational side, CFOs, 93% of them are saying they're seeing tremendous growth by automating AR, not just in their team's efficiencies, but the things that enables their teams to do, right? Our accounting teams can now be forward thinking. They can be working on strategic planning, financial analysis, insights. What could we be doing better with our money? How could we be spending more efficiently? How could we be planning more effectively? Those things factor into that as well. They're able to plan for growth of the organization and not chasing paper and calling people and dealing with collections and all of that kind of stuff that takes a lot of manual time and effort.
Exactly. I want to go back to your first point, Mary, with the $23 cost per invoice, because you kind of outlined a lot of those costs that go into it. And some of them are very apparent and some of them aren't very apparent.
Right.
We have a graphic here that honestly, this is my favorite graphic. I love sending it to anybody and everybody that asks about accounts receivable and AR. And because I think this paints a really good job, and just looking at it kind of drains me. It's like, oh man, this really is intensive. But I think this does a good job kind of walking through, a lot of people don't even realize all the steps it takes to get paid.
Right.
But this paints a good picture.
And even if we looked at, so we talked about some of these, Sam, to your point of, the vendor sells a product, the purchaser buys it, then that begins the whole invoicing process and mailing or emailing or distributing the invoice in whatever capacity. And that doesn't even take into account that there might be some sort of ingestion on the back end and routing for approval. And, heaven forbid, if the invoice is over a certain dollar amount, now I've got to get multiple levels of approval. All of those things are happening behind the scenes, somewhere between step, 4 and 8, right? That we don't even have, the ability to show here without making this look even more intense and scary. But the bottom line is that this 1 to 10 step process, as you see here depicted in the graphic, can take 28 to 45 days on average for businesses. And especially in the small and mid-sized business market, many of our QuickBooks users, they don't have that kind of time. They need the cash as soon as possible so that they can build it into their operational planning. And one of the pain points, before we go through the kind of bottom half of this graphic, one of the pain points in particular that organizations really struggle with is that invoice reconciliation process. And the next, a really close second behind that, is not having access to a customer portal or a payment portal where they can go in and manage their invoices. That cuts out about 8 of these steps just with the click of a button. So I think giving people, again, back to that, giving them a way to pay in a format and method that's very contained, very secure, something they don't have to worry about through a portal, is going to accelerate that process and just make that customer, again, feel like they have a home, that they have some place to go to make those payments in a very secure environment.
For sure.
So when you automate this process of accounts receivable, the bottom half of this graphic, we're basically taking out all of those middle steps. The customer makes the purchase. We send the invoice. Sam, you're going to demonstrate this for us just here in a second or two. We receive the payment very quickly, and that integrates directly into QuickBooks Online, as you're going to show us how Trace AR does it. So what we're seeing in that situation is payments are being made in less than a week, and in some cases, even a day or two. So again, if we're looking at it from a consumer example, it's you get it, you click, you pay, you're done. Or in some cases, you get it, you schedule. Maybe it's a recurring payment. Again, you can set that up very easily as well. We're going to take a look at it in Trace AR with QuickBooks Online. But I'd love your thoughts on that too, Sam.
I was going to add, I can't stress how important it is, this idea of acceleration with regards to receivables, especially for QuickBooks users. A typical QuickBooks business, just to generalize, right, is usually going to be kind of small, mid-sized business, sometimes pretty scrappy. And a lot of these businesses don't have massive cash reserves all the time to be able to, to pay whatever they need to. So having money in the bank today, rather than having money in the bank 45, 60, 90 days from now, is going to be so important, because oftentimes, these businesses are having to finance. They're going to have to go out and get a loan, and that's going to affect their bottom line even more than this $23 per invoice, right? So when we don't have best practices, when we don't have automation, it really does hurt the business, right? And we might not even realize that, because it's not that line item, right? The cost of capital,
the cost of doing business, exactly.
Is right. You don't quantify that typically. So stuff is very important. All right, so let's get into the fun stuff then. Not that this wasn't fun up until now, Mary. Of
course.
But
no, I 100% agree. Picture's worth 1,000 words, Sam. Show us what we're talking about here.
Exactly. So this is your screenshot. This is your demo here. No, we're going to get into a live demo here. I do want to mention, I'm not going to go into a full-fledged Trace AR demo. We did do that webinar last month. So if anybody on this call wants to see more of the standalone accounts receivable product that we have, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to our team. We're happy to get you some more info, but I really want to highlight the QuickBooks opportunity with this.
Or visit our YouTube page.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
Absolutely.
That was a good plug. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of navigate between Trace AR and QuickBooks a little bit, just to kind of show you what the process looks like. What I really love about this team, a few things, right? We've come a long way in the last decade or so since QuickBooks payment integrations became a thing. There used to be middlewares. There used to be implementation processes. There used to be super high costs of purchasing and integration. And we're essentially eliminating a lot of those barriers.
Data formatting, file formatting, making sure it works with your bank. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yes. So what this is truly a two-way sync between QuickBooks Online and PayTrace, essentially, where any data that we add into QuickBooks or Trace AR is going to automatically sync to one another, whether that's customer reports, that's payment information, right? That's going to be a complete two-way talk. So one, we're going to make the payments process easy, but two, we're going to make the reconciliation process super easy. So when we're looking at kind of the users of who's using this solution, I've talked with our team, and really they've identified there's two primary audiences for this. There's the QuickBooks audience that's already taking payments, which is what I'll demonstrate here in a moment, how we can process a payment in QuickBooks directly, send out that invoice. Right, where we're basically just taking QuickBooks Intuit payment processing out of the equation and we're putting in our own. But then there's the ones that really just use QuickBooks for bookkeeping. They're not doing the payments, the AR stuff within that already. And in those situations, right, they might want to use Trace AR directly, or they might want to have some sort of hybrid of both. So I'm going to preface this. I'm not a QuickBooks expert, but I can get around here pretty easy enough. It's fairly user-friendly. Let's actually go ahead and build out an invoice. So I'm going to go to my customer's profile. And what's cool is I've actually imported all of my customers into Trace AR, but you can see all of those pulled in directly into QuickBooks. So let's just say this guy, Sam Johnson, right? He owes me a payment. So I'm going to pull up his profile here. Oh, I got to move our window. And we're going to go ahead and fire up an invoice. I can see all of my history on the customer here on this dashboard, but I'll go ahead and fire something else off. I've got my customer's information already built in here. Terms I've set to net 30, right? We can adjust this to whatever, term plan that we want to establish with our customers. I like my money quick, so I'm going to do due upon receipt. And then I'm just going to go ahead and add in a few items. Again, I added all of my items into the Trace AR interface and it pulled that over. You can do that directly into QuickBooks. You can import into Trace AR, whatever's going to be easier for the business. So I'm going to go ahead and buy a couple different golf clubs. Right, got the rates already filled in there. I've set this customer up to be non-taxable, so it's just going to be the flat $650. I can add some custom messaging if I want to, but I think this looks pretty good.
To golf on Wednesdays.
Right.
Oh wait, today's Wednesday. Well, thanks, Sam. We appreciate you taking the time to do the webinar.
I'm thrilled to be here. Anything for you, Mary. So
no, you're the best.
I fired that off. Now let me actually go ahead and grab my email in the background really quick. I don't want to inundate you guys with my inbox. And I think
what's cool about this, Sam, while you're looking for that, is that, if you're a QuickBooks user, it feels like, and it looks like, and it functions like you're in QuickBooks because you are. And so that depth of integration, especially to your point of small businesses using QuickBooks as an example, they probably don't have a very big accounting team. They probably don't have time to train people on multiple systems on a regular basis. So all of this being just embedded in the system that they know and use and trust for everything has to provide additional, just convenience and ease of use for them as well. So I think that's a great experience to have
exactly
the system baked right in.
So one thing that I do want to point out about this system that, when we talk to a lot of our customers that are really impressed about is the just the speed of connection on this, because a lot of these integrations, these middlewares, whatever they might be, I'm not going to name names, but it can take a while. There can be a delay. There could be a 5-minute delay in sometimes where we don't know if that actually got sent out properly. But you can see here, this was instantaneous, right? I received this email within about 10 seconds. So I've got my branding on here, right? It says that I owe $650. I'll go to pay my invoice off. And that's going to open up my Trace AR customer portal. I've got the invoice built in here already. What's cool about this is that when we are using QuickBooks to fire off this invoice, it's going to actually take the QuickBooks invoice itself and embed it onto this page. So for those that are already using QuickBooks today, you're not changing your invoicing template. It's going to look and feel, and essentially it is the exact same as what we expect to come out of QuickBooks. So I'm going to go ahead and just pay this off really quickly. I've already got a few payment methods saved, so just to save some time, I'm going to grab my stored card. Now, this is new, and we're going to talk about this in a moment because this is really exciting. But Trace AR actually has a new client portal. And if there are any additional outstanding invoices that are tied to this customer's email or phone number, when I go to pay off this invoice, it's also going to pull off any other outstanding invoices that need to get paid. So again, we are making this super easy to collect money and help keep our customers a little bit more accountable, especially some that might have, more frequent purchases, to make sure that some of these aren't slipping through the cracks. So, I looks like I bought a few other golf clubs last month. So I'm just going to go ahead and pay off that invoice as well.
What a great reminder too, because to your point, even if you got an email a month ago, are you going to go back and look, just because you're paying this invoice? You're going to hope that that went through the process already, right? So just having that instant visibility is so key.
Exactly. And we have, of course, we have the ability to send off reminders and
Sure.
send these if we need to, right? This isn't just a one and done. Some people need a little extra pushing, but right, that's going to update the invoice on file. It's going to give me a receipt that shows all the invoices that were paid off on this transaction. So it's going to make that really nice. Now, when I hop back into my QuickBooks account, I'll just do a quick refresh. And you can see that sync took place instantaneously, right? There was no delay. I can see exactly that I received that $1,300 payment. It's posted to QuickBooks. If I happen to hop over to Trace AR, you'll see all that information is also hitting our system. There's my 2 invoices. So, team, I'm pretty hyped up about this. I've seen a lot of QuickBooks products. If you can't tell, I'm really excited. I'm a payments nerd, but this stuff is really exciting. If you are on the finance side, if you are on the payment sales side, this truly is a phenomenal QuickBooks Online solution.
Yeah, I think you're in good company too, Sam. I think the whole idea of just ease of use, embedded, secure solutions are, kind of the wave of the future as it is. And certainly when it comes to payments, just having that integration is, just so helpful for people that they don't realize how much time it's going to save them until they start doing it almost. And again, sometimes it seems too good to be true, but other times it actually is. So exactly. I think you're sharing a great example.
Exactly. So 2 more things I want to mention on how this differentiates itself from some of the other solutions and from Intuit payment processing itself. One that I didn't show on here, but I do want to touch on it, is the ability to add in fees. It's becoming more commonplace now. Some merchants love it, some merchants hate it, but it's there if it's needed. So if we need to apply any sort of compliance surcharge to any transactions, that is available, which is something that a lot of the native QuickBooks solutions do not support. And then lastly, I also do want to touch on the implementation process, because it's there. We need to discuss it. I've already got my demo account hooked up to QBO, but let's pull up one that's not hooked up there today. When we're setting this up, literally all we need to do is go into an integration tab within Trace AR, grab QuickBooks Online, connect to it. I already have my QuickBooks credentials saved to my computer, so it's just going to import those directly, but it's just going to ask for an email and a password for your QuickBooks account. And then usually within about 10 seconds or so, boom, it'll say connected. So literally, for anybody that wants to implement this today, you can get that up and running pretty much immediately, right? So
awesome. Time to set up is certainly something that I can share, used to take days, weeks, months, even in some cases, depending on the system and the types of complex requirements and data formatting, like we talked about earlier. So quick and simple is definitely the way to go.
That's kind of the theme of today's call, Mary. I feel like is just kind of quick and simple, right? Let's make things go as fast as we can, and let's make it as easy as possible.
100%.
So, with that said, I did mention one other new feature called the client portal, which we kind of had a little bit of a showcase there a moment ago. Mary, do you want to talk about some of the values that you've heard in the industry about having some type of portal like this?
Yeah, Sam, I can share that, the data shows that 42% of B2B organizations show that it's one of their top 2 pain points, not having a client portal where they can go in and pay multiple invoices, review their terms, look at due dates, see what's outstanding. So they have a good collection of a view of what's outstanding on their account. Supported by that is they also need payment choices. They need options. The value of all of that is that it gives them control over their spend management. It gives them control over their cash flow. It gives them visibility into what's outstanding so they can make better decisions. Do they want to pay those things now? Do they want to pay them in 10 days? Are they better off using credit cards to essentially finance some of the things that they want to do so that they can get incent their vendors to pay them, their clients to pay them faster? So all of these different kind of triggers or levers that you can pull in the way that you manage your cash are brought to life in a client portal. So it's not just the feature and functionality, it's all of the additional benefits and visibility that it gives you that helps support how you run your business is what we're seeing.
Right, absolutely. So we saw kind of a glimpse or one application of that client portal just a moment ago where it popped up that invoice reminder, which is really cool. But this is a fully baked out portal that a customer can log into. You can see this is what it looks like over here. This can be embedded on a business's website. You can see that this is both mobile and desktop dynamic, or we can just provide a URL, which is really simple. So if I was to go in and drop in that URL and open up my client portal, I've already logged in, but it will basically ask for a phone number or an email that it's going to look against your invoices for. It's going to send you an authentication code, and then you'll get logged into your client portal. So I can see, right now for this account, I have one invoice for $650. That's on a balance. I can see all my paid invoices. I can make my payments directly from here. I can add in different payment methods into my wallet. So this is a really, really nice, modern, easy, right? This is like 20th century. This is 21st century stuff here.
21st century
excited.
Stuff. Love it. Love it.
But it's so clean. It's so nice. And this is not QuickBooks exclusive. I want to be crystal clear about that. This is true. They are exclusive. So regardless if it's QuickBooks, any other integration that we're working with, or just the Trace AR application standalone.
Sure.
Right? All of this can utilize this client portal. It is so cool. So
a quick note on the mobile app, Sam, that's actually another pain point that people mention, that if it doesn't have an integration for a mobile app, because a lot of these businesses are, again, smaller, mid-sized. Maybe the person who's responsible for finances is also somebody who's out doing calls or on-site, deliveries or checking in with clients. So they're not always feet under the desk, sitting behind a desk, whether that's at home or in an office or whatever. They're on the go, right? So being able to manage this mobily is actually reported by 20% of people as a challenge, that they won't work with a system, or they prefer not to work with a system that doesn't offer a mobile app and mobile ease of use as well.
Yeah, it's right. It's basically bringing everything into like the most accessible
everything together
that we always use.
100%. Yep.
So very excited for this. With that said, right, hopefully this was kind of your good quick taste of the QuickBooks and the client portal solutions. Again, I've seen a few questions in here. We're happy to have conversations outside of today's call with yourself, with clients of yours, whatever makes the most sense. We'd love to get some more information in front of you. So kind of to put a bow on everything, I like to wrap these up really articulating the value proposition, right? What are the things that Trace AR is doing to benefit businesses, right? Number one, we're getting paid faster. I think that is probably the biggest challenge in B2B payments that we're seeing. It used to be cost, I think, used to be up there as number one, and I think a lot of people focused on that. But what we've learned over the last few years is that, B2B merchants are less price sensitive and more value sensitive, right? We want to be able to add solutions that are going to add a lot of value to their staff, and just general value to their business, to their bottom line. So getting paid faster, right? Whatever we can do to reduce DSO. Ultimately, right, a big portion of that is freeing up AR personnel time. It's, hopefully soon to be long gone the days where we actually have somebody that's going to the mailbox 3 times a day to get all their paper invoices and send those out and print them and stuff in envelopes. That's just, it's a waste of time, right? We don't need to do that anymore. So real-time visibility. Again, what's great about this is that we have complete tracking within the invoices. I didn't share that on the demo, but I can actually see when my customers click the links. I can see if they've received the emails. I can see every little bit of that transaction. And again, with that dual sync, everything's happening live, right? It's happening right away.
No more excuses. Well, I didn't get it. Well, you opened it 3 times yesterday. Are you sure? You know, in a nice way, of
Accountability.
course, but
That's right. That's the name
accountability
of
and
the game.
visibility is key.
Want to get paid. We don't want to have to strong arm people to get paid, but we will if we need to.
There you go.
I'm like the least intimidating person ever. I couldn't do that.
Same.
Increased end user security, right? That's always going to be just at the forefront of anything payment related, credit card, ACH payments, right? Especially when we're doing digital. PayTrace has some of the best security that's out there. We want to make sure that our clients' information is protected and everybody that's paying them, their information is protected. So everything that we do is fully PCI compliant, right? We are checking all the boxes with regards to that. I always get the question, I actually haven't seen it come through yet in the Q&A box, but everybody always asks on these webinars, does this do level 2 and level 3? Yes. I can't stress that enough. Everything that's using our gateway, our solutions, is going to get the best interchange rates attainable, right? So if we are accepting a lot of these corporate business cards, purchasing cards, things like that, right? Businesses aren't going to pay the 3% that a lot of the times are associated with that, right? We're going to get that the best rate attainable possible using our interchange optimization tools. So, right, just know that while cost isn't the main theme of this, we are doing everything that we can to mitigate a lot of those credit card costs that usually come in with these types of solutions. And then lastly, our support is really some of the best in the industry. I always feel comfortable on these calls saying, if you don't believe it, literally pick up the phone, call our number. It's 888-806-6545. If you call them right now, I guarantee somebody's going to pick up in 20 seconds or less. So
A real person.
A real person.
Not a mechanical system that's going to route you through, or a digital system that's going to route you through. Lots of things we want digital, not customer service.
It's funny. I love the Discover commercial. I'm not promoting Discover by any means, but they have a great commercial where they have, I forget the actress's name, but she's asking, are you a robot? Your robot sounds super convincing. It's like, no, I'm a real person. I'm like, that's fantastic. Cause it's like, that's exactly what our support is like. We're not robots. We're real people. We're US based, and you can get a hold of a live person if you need to talk to somebody. So it is really phenomenal. All right. So with that said, I'm going to open this up to Q&A. I do see we've got a good handful of questions. So Mary, I'm going to throw these out there and we'll kind of tag team on these if you're cool with that.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll throw the first one out to you. Can we add technology fees to invoices paid with credit cards?
Yeah, absolutely. We get that question a lot. And so if you need to do surcharging, or if you need to add other sorts of fees that are compliant, we have that capability right there within Trace AR.
And I will say, some of you may know about this. We've talked about it. We've promoted this a bit, but we do have a new ACH solution coming out here in the very near future, which once that is released and we have that connected with Trace AR, we will also be able to do things like cash discounting, dual pricing, right? So we know there's differentiators within each and there's some semantics within it, but we're going to be able to support really all those different types of non-traditional fees. I'm going to grab this next one because it's from my buddy Marshall, and I always love Marshall. I expected harder questions. He's asking, will this webinar be posted to the YouTube channel? And if so, how soon will it be available? Marshall, I know you've got a lot of clients that are chomping at the bit for this. Yes, this will be on the YouTube channel if you are watching this live. This will be up. Typically, I try to get them up by the end of the week. So we'll have this readily available for you very shortly.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Sam, this one kind of jumps out at me as something that is right up your alley. Helen asks, does PayTrace offer meeting support with the merchants to discuss the program?
Yeah. Good to hear from you, Helene. Yes. So with this, it's just like how we've always done it, right? PayTrace is willing to hop on any demos, any trainings that you need for your clients to make sure that onboarding process, that activation process goes as smoothly as possible. So yes, with Trace AR, with any of these different products, we are happy to hop on that. What I will say from our experience is with QuickBooks specifically, most of our users that are using a QuickBooks integration are already so knowledgeable about QuickBooks that there's not really much teaching that goes into that. It's basically going in, making sure everything's set up properly and it looks good. So that's one of the benefits to this specific solution.
Do a couple and pretty soon you're off and running.
Exactly. It's pretty cut and dry. So I have a bunch of questions about cost on here. That's always the $1 million question, not literally, but it's right. The most popular question on these calls.
Definitely not.
I'm going to throw that out and say, contact us separately offline about this. We're happy to get costs in front of you, whether you're a partner or your QuickBooks user, and work with you on getting that in front of either your business or your clients. So just reach out to us at sales@paytrace.com, or if you know who your relationship manager is today, just shoot them a quick email and we can talk to costs outside of this. All right. We'll grab one or two more questions on here. A lot of these are kind of duplicates, so I'm just going to go through these. James, I think we covered your question about reminders on outstanding invoices. We do have the ability to set up reminders so that they're getting that email notification, right? A lot of the times, if it is like a net 30, we'll send an email at the beginning, and then maybe on the due date, you can send up a follow-up email saying this is due today. There's a lot of ways that you can play around with that. So yes, reminders are available. Let's see here. Okay. Last one I think we'll cover on here. I'll follow up with some of these other ones offline. Greg's asking, for QuickBooks Online, do you have to download a file? No. So what's nice about QuickBooks Online compared to QuickBooks Desktop is that it is a cloud-based software, right? It literally is just online. So there's no downloads that we have to do. There's no imports, export type things that are required, right? All of that just lives on within QuickBooks, within
right. Cloud-based application, just like any other that you would use.
Exactly.
Username, password, login, all that licensing is happening behind the scenes.
So very simple. All right. With that said, we'll go ahead and wrap that up. I do want to launch a quick poll before we go. If you are interested in any sort of follow-up with our team, if you'd like to have a conversation on costs or have more information on QuickBooks Online, please just check the box next to yes. And then we can pass it along to our team and get the right person in front of you guys. So it looks like we have a lot of people that are very interested in this. Mary, I know you're not at your office today. You're traveling, but I really always appreciate you on these webinars with me, and I was so excited that you're able to connect from the road. So thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Thanks everyone for joining. Great discussion, great questions. We look forward to continuing the conversation.
Fantastic. All right, everybody, take care.